Oklahoma City Thunder select Chet Holmgren from Gonzaga University.
What a pass. Giddy underneath for JRE. The reverse and the rookie-to-rookie action. SGA defended closely by Westbrook. Tough. Step back. Gets up the shot. Banks it in for the lead.
This is Udart. You're listening to the Uncontested.
What is up, and welcome to the Uncontested Podcast, coming to you live Wednesday, June 14th. We are 8 days out from the NBA draft, 2 days removed from the NBA season, as the Denver Nuggets are your NBA champs. The guy who cares the least about that might be the star player, Nikola Jokic. I'm your host for the evening, Jacob Niffen. I've got JD Silva with me.
Fellas.
We've got Tayler Peterson.
Hey Siri, play Sloppy Toppy by Travis Scott.
We've got Kamiar Moravian.
I don't like the word slop, and I know this podcast is going to be great. It's going to be a good one. Oh yeah.
It's the Slop Pod, folks. Before we dive in to all the slop, let you guys know we are brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network, dailythunder.com. Programming note for you guys, this Sunday, 9 p.m. Central Time, we will have our Sunday night live show, so make sure you sub to the YouTube channel, come hang out with us. Really fun show planned for you guys this Sunday. Not going to spoil the content, but I think it's going to be a fun one. We've been kind of workshopping it for a while. And then a week from tonight, Draft Eve, we will be going live at 9 p.m. on Wednesday night, the 21st, giving all of our draft predictions, our assumptions. We're basically doing what Sam Presti told us not to do. We are not burning our assumptions and predictions. We're firing them out of a damn cannon. It's going to be fun. And then Thursday night, June 22nd, the NBA draft. We will be live right here on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, all the places you watch us at for the live stream. We'll be live for the entire NBA draft first round, breaking down all the trades, the picks, the rumors, all that kind of stuff. It'll be our 4th annual Draft Night live show. They get bigger and better every year. This year should be no exception. It's going to be an absolute blast. So make sure you join us next Thursday night. Even if you're like at a watch party or hanging out with your friends, whatever, pull up the stream, jump in the chat. You can listen to us while you also watch the draft on TV. It's just going to be a really good time. We're really excited about it. Gentlemen.
It's always one of the best times of the year.
It is.
Absolutely. Most wonderful
Christmas.
time of the year.
Like
Before we get into the slop, we're going to do a Thunder mock draft roundup. We did this, I think, a week ago. New mocks, new roundup. So I'm going to read off what the new mock drafts say about the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I want you guys just to give me kind of your feelings, your reactions, as we are only 8 days out. So the big one, ESPN, Jonathan Givony and Jeremy Wu dropped their latest mock draft this morning. Packed full of intel until you got to pick 12 when they had zero intel on the Thunder, which adds up. Their new mock has the Thunder taking Michigan guard Kobe Buffkin. Bleacher Report and Jonathan Wasserman updated his mock draft just a few days ago. His has OKC taking Taylor Hendricks at 12. Pretty far slide for Hendricks. OKC picks him up. CBS updated theirs 2 days ago. SB Nation also updated theirs 2 days ago. Both of them have the Thunder taking Bilal Coulibaly from the Metropolitan 92s. Is that the right number?
Yep.
The 92s. Mm-hmm. So Buffkin, Hendricks, and then Coulibaly. How do you guys feel about those three?
Hendricks is the most interesting one to me there because of the slide. Just him getting to that. I assume this draft had him at 12, right? There was no. Yeah, that's a little odd to me, I guess. I don't know if there's been intel around Hendricks slipping or not, but that was definitely the most exciting name of the four there. I think to me, Buffkin is like not the most exciting pick. It's just like a sound guard that could add, good depth to the team. And then Koulibaly's more of a kind of a player they're gonna have to develop for a while. Could make an impact on D right away, but the offense, certainly needs some work. So not the most exciting draft picks. Personally, I'm cool with not seeing Lively there on any of these, but
Oh, interesting, because we were really high on Lively on Sunday
yeah.
when
I'm
you
not
were in Margaritaville.
I was in Margaritaville. Man, Margaritaville and other related establishments. But yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, I wouldn't be crazy with Lively at 12. A little further back, I'd be cool.
Look, I'm trying to get invited to Silva family vacation next year.
I'll bring you along. Tie you to the boat.
For what it's worth, on Wasserman's Bleacher Report mock, he had. It's kind of interesting. I'll just read it through to you real quick. Obviously, Wemby at 1. He's got Brennan Miller at 2, Scoot at 3. Scrolling, Cam Whitmore at 4, Asar at 5. He has Asar going above Amen. Amen goes 6 to Orlando. Jarris to Indiana at 7. Anthony Black at 8. Grady Dick at 9. Derek Lively at 10. I could see all of those like coming to fruition. And then 11, Magic, he has Bilal Coulibaly, which pushes Tayler down to 12.
That was kind of my interpretation of this one. Not because I don't think Wasserman's plugged in or doesn't have or isn't great at evaluating prospects, but I think he was trying to get a little cute on this one and just be a little different from consensus. Because listening to him over the past couple of weeks, really, specifically today, I know you listened to that podcast as well, Jacob. Like, he's incredibly high on Amin, more than us are. Also, like the rest of his mocks prior to that had been pretty consistent in regards to where he had players. I think this one, he was just trying to shake things up just a little bit and so that way he could have different takes. Because honestly, if you're doing his job and you put out the same mock draft with just minor changes week after week leading up to the draft, like I think that's all this technically is. I think the Thunder would have to trade up to get Hendricks, is my thought. And obviously, I really don't think Asar is going to go over Amin. I could see Cam Whitmore potentially going over Amin, but that's a different story. Obviously, Hendricks would be great. We talked, like you guys mentioned, about him on Sunday. Kobe Buffkin, Silva, that was like perfect in that show. He really is a really sound player, but I think with a lot of, he's kind of a higher floor, but still has a lot of upside. He really came along towards the end of the season with Michigan, and it was kind of fun because I was watching Michigan for Jet Howard, and then probably around December timeframe, Kobe Buffkin starts coming on the scene. I start tweeting about him a little bit. And it's interesting. He's continued to improve as he got further along into the season. And then obviously they're into, well, they didn't make the NCAA tournament, I don't believe. So regardless, Buffkin is a really fun, I think he fits a lot of things that the Thunder look for, but just almost
also works out with Shea.
Yeah, that's true. Worked out with Shea, and we think Chet in the background. I know I could see it, but again, that probably means like a Trey Man or somebody's going to have to leave. And then below Coulibaly, obviously we know there's reports of Presti being there watching the Mets 92 game, game 2 of their quote unquote finals. It makes a lot of sense, but again, it's another prospect or at another project. And so
I don't think Bilal makes sense.
Yeah, that's kind of,
I'm kind of on record last podcast with this. I don't see the fit. I mean, I understand that high upside, lanky athlete, long limbs, but the processing, the basketball IQ, the ball movement just isn't there. And to me, Coulibaly is a Thunder draft pick from 7 years ago, not a Thunder draft pick in the modern sense of how the Thunder have been building their team. Kobe Buffkin's okay. Like, he's a lefty, so I'm cool with that. I didn't know he was a lefty until today.
He struggles with that right hand, though, which is a little concerning.
Yeah.
It's interesting because like any dude that's as high up on ESPN, CBS, yada, yada, all these dudes have sources that are plugged in somewhere. Nobody really has that for OKC. I mean, nobody has any sort of plug. That's why when all the initial mock drafts go out to like the 15th or 16th or 1.0 or whatever 0.0 mock draft, by the time it's draft night, that everybody's is pretty different on who OKC might take. It's that every single year, and oftentimes it's not who anybody thought they were going to take in the first place, or even a person that was even on the radar, which I think is interesting. Did anybody have Oklahoma City have their sights on Ousmane Dieng like really hard last year? No. Did they think they would trade up with 3 picks to get some guy like Ousmane Dieng? No. Jalen Williams. Did anybody think Jalen Williams either? What was the consensus last year? Huh?
Not at all. And then
J-Dub was like
hindsight,
16. No, I will give
just
Sam Vecini credit. He had in his final mock draft last year, like 2 days before the draft, he had the Thunder taking Ousmane at 12.
That's
so Sam Vecini was
plugged into
maybe a lucky guess. Yeah, plugged in. Who knows? But I think Sam's really good at what he does too.
So I think it's funny to like look at. Sure, like we can like talk about Kobe Buffkin, Taylor Hendricks, Bilal Coulibaly. I don't even. Those guys don't even know. You know,
no, you're exactly right. So, J-Dub didn't even know. He said he didn't even know he was going to get selected by the Thunder on draft night.
Yeah, and so to tag on of what Jake said is that what is this? What's this team wanting to do? What are they going? Are they starting to go the route of, hey, we need bodies and role players to fill this team out now with young guys on long-term contracts, or are they still swinging for the fences? Possibly. Of course, you're going to try to do that regardless of your pick. But you know, what kind of guys does the team need going forward? Do they have several people that can play on the ball between J-Dub, Shea, Josh, add in a couple, Lou sometimes. You know, so, but then you have a lot of length. You don't like you guys have mentioned. You don't really have girth. You don't have thickness, and that's something that the Thunder lack. They lack size, and are they gonna do that and get vets and not play them because that's not what they're trying to do? You know, and so like, what are you doing? Is my curiosity is. What do they need? It's very clear that they have a need for a high IQ, player that can maybe shoot the ball, or a high IQ defensive player that maybe has a thick body. Who knows? And so that's why I just like err on the side of caution to like I'd never look at mock drafts. I never look at mock drafts.
And so Jalen Williams at J-Dub didn't know apparently that he was going to be selected, or was surprised-ish when he was selected by the Thunder. At least didn't know heading into the draft he was going to be selected by the Thunder. But then there was and I can't remember, I think it was Zach Lowe who wrote this article, and we found out again in hindsight, obviously, because that's to Kamiar's point, that's how the Thunder operate. But apparently they went into that draft at least wanting the two guys, being Chet Holmgren at 2 and J-Dub at 12, and they were also able to get their other guy, obviously, in Oos. So to your point, Kamiar, I think you're spot on. Which and again, I don't want to touch on this too much here because this is a bullet point later on in our sloppy section. But the Derek Lively interest, like that is one rumor
that's dated back legitimate. A while now.
Yeah, and from different people, it's interesting. So we can get into that a little later. But
yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting intersection draft for the Thunder. Kamiar kind of hit on it there do you feel like you've got your guys and now you're building around them and you're looking for shooting, or are you still sticking to the mold of what you've been doing, which is positional size and length, high basketball IQ, and they can figure out the rest later? It's going to be interesting to see which direction they go. Like one direction is Grady Dick. The other direction is a Kobe Buffkin or my guy Jarris Walker. The Grady Dick direction also I think would include Taylor Hendricks, right? More of a play finisher. So I think it's an interesting one. We're going to learn a lot about kind of what direction they are going once they make the draft pick, which I'm just getting increasingly excited about seeing what they are going to do. There's going to be some good guys on the board when we get to 12.
I don't want
if
bad
they don't
guys.
make a trade.
I like
Touche.
I do feel fortunate, just really quick, that we're even having the conversation of we don't know The Thunder are at this intersection, and we don't know which way they're going to go. Are they going to continue to draft, best available, highest upside, or are they going to take the better fit? We already know. It made me think of Charlotte.
They're always going to go higher upside, though. I mean, like their track record has proven that. But I think your question of fit is real.
It made me think of Mitch Kupchak, the Charlotte GM, weeks and weeks ago, immediately saying, "Well, we like the young guys we got already, so I think we're going to go.
We don't need another guard
this draft." Said that
You're
immediately.
number 2 in the draft, bro.
Right.
You should probably just go talent.
Yeah. So just fortunate for the patience.
And then Scoot comes in a couple of days ago or whatever and has a great workout. It's like, oh my gosh,
Scoot,
guy's fantastic.
Every time, I think it was the No Ceilings guy posted a video of Scoot at a workout the other day. I swear to God, that guy has like 2% body fat.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got muscles in places I didn't know you had muscles.
Yep.
It's insane. He is.
It's like an NFL player.
More modern Russell Westbrook.
That's what he like physically. That's what he looks like.
Yep.
Yeah.
He is
Can
insane.
Scoot.
So before we move on, just for the degenerates who follow the uncontested closely, if you don't, we're a really good time, and I suggest you follow us on social media. But Eamon is asking the question of the day, which is which of the degenerates had the tweets?
This has been an argument in the Slack for the last however since
Kamiar,
it was tweeted out.
It's been
Kamiar
like
has not let
10
it die.
hours.
He's going to get down to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Look,
convinced. If you don't know what the tweet is, go to our Twitter page and just scroll back through today. You will find quote unquote the tweet. You will know what it is. My personal vote is it's Nick.
Yes.
It doesn't have emojis in it, so it's not Tayler.
Correct. I also
I
was
think
a little
Justin-
confused on the Suggs part until I realized it was like, it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Justin, I legitimately believe Justin's got 3 kids and he's like a boss at his job. He didn't have the time to fire that one off.
I don't know. He was up early that morning, so
That is
he's
true.
not off the hook.
He's just cooking up something
Not
vile.
Silva replied to it like 30 seconds after it was tweeted.
He
It
did.
kind of makes me think it was Silva, but the wording of it, the way it's set up, just feels like a Nick tweet.
Also,
I'm going
Nick's
Nick.
been tweeting from the account like all day. He's had like 3
Exactly.
or 4 different tweets that are Nick.
You know when
You know
Nick
it's
is
Nick.
using the uncontested as his burner account,
Yes.
and that's exactly what was happening today.
These are the
Exactly.
words of an honest man. I did not do it. LMAO.
See, I
was
would
Nick.
own up to it because I think it was fantastic. I wish I would have thought of it.
It was Nick.
It was not me. I don't know what I have to do to prove myself. I think it was
Silva
Kami-
says it
I
with the
think-
most shit-eating grin on his face right now.
It's just really funny that everyone thinks it's me. I think it was either Kamiar. I think
I
Kamiar's a
didn't do
sleeper here.
no, I didn't do
Or
it's not me.
It was a good
It,
tweet.
it reads like a Nick tweet,
Yes, it does.
and Nick was tweeting other things today
Hey,
from the
green
account.
M&Ms, man.
Exactly.
Agree.
All
Not
right,
this
we're gonna-
vile
Inside joke.
content.
We're gonna take a quick break. On the other side, this show has the upside of just going off the rails. You're gonna want to stick around. If you're listening to the podcast version, if you're in the live stream, you're gonna want to stick around. We will be right back. All right, we are back, and it is time for what JD and I have dubbed the slop drop.
Dude.
That is the sound of the slop dropping.
We have arrived.
Raindrop,
time.
slop top.
The NBA finals are over.
No,
It
Sean
is-
not.
It is absolutely draft rumor season right now. That means all the slop is coming out. Left, right, over the top. We are getting all types of NBA slop right now. So we're going to have the slop drop section of the podcast. Every time we talk about a new piece of slop, Silva is going to play the sounder. Silva, one more time for the people at home, please.
I hate
Get
this
used-
podcast.
Get used to that sound. because we got a lot of slop coming your way.
That was Silva in Vegas last year after those Buffalo whatevers.
after he ate Nick's burrito
Yeah.
poutine. Oh my God, Silva! I wish you were going to Vegas this year with us.
I know.
All right, so we are ranking the slop rumors today. Here are our tiers. How you can rank. If it is super sloppy, meaning it's a good rumor, it's fun, we got to dive into it. That slop is the sloppy Joe. Okay, maybe the sloppiest thing you can eat.
Y'all like sloppy joes?
No,
I've never been a sloppy Joe guy.
too sloppy.
What Jake, you like slops?
I'm not a sloppy Joe guy.
Wow. I mean, it's the best slop. I like sloppy joes.
I feel like if it had a different name, I would enjoy
you
it.
got to toast.
Yeah.
You got to toast the bread. You got to toast the buns, man.
That's fair.
That-
and
that's
the
probably
issue I
fair.
think is my
That's
first
the
sloppy
secret.
Joe was like cafeteria sloppy Joe, and
Right.
I just ruined it.
Yeah, you
Wet.
can't trust public.
My mom
school
wasn't a
food,
big sloppy
my
Joe.
guy.
It's not one of
Yeah.
those things where you say it's wet. You say it's wet. Wet.
It's
Its
moist.
reputation has been dragged
Yeah.
through the mud over the years.
Yeah.
So it's-
Ugh.
All right, our mid-tier slop, which is it's an okay rumor. I don't know if it really means that much. These rankings were made by JD, by the way, just so everybody knows. Mid-tier is Waffle House.
Okay,
That's
It's got a little bit of slop.
Yeah, it's a good slop.
it's a good one, but I have a substitute here because that just came to me.
Mhm.
What
we're
about
not-
Silva's beef stroganoff?
Oh my god.
I think we're gonna stick with Waffle
I
House.
can't do
famous.
this. I can't do this episode.
And then the bad slop, the rumors that just aren't
Yeah.
fun, are boring. It's not good stuff. Again, this is a silver ranking. Is a Popeyes biscuit.
My question is why are you hating on Popeye's biscuit? Are you putting the honey on the biscuit?
If
That's,
you
a
want
that's
fair
the
to,
point.
thing. That's
fair
the thing.
point.
On its
if you're ready
own.
to end it all, you just go order like 4 Popeyes biscuits, no water.
Right. That's the thing.
Jeez.
On its own, a Popeye's biscuit is
God.
just turns your mouth to a desert.
It's true.
But
It's
you
true.
dip it in
It is
that
it is dry.
gravy or some honey,
Right.
like you mentioned.
You need more.
Dry up in there. It ain't wet.
Big Mike NZ brings up a good point. Taco Bell maybe should have been the sloppiest slop. It's
That's
sloppy
true.
when you eat it. It's more sloppy when it comes out.
Kind of eat it over a sink or a trash can sort of situation.
Can't eat it while you're driving. That's a
Like
bad
a
plan.
rat. Yeah.
Had it for lunch
Uh,
today.
No. So
What'd you eat? What'd you get?
A quesadilla.
Did you get a Baja Blast?
Nope. Just a water.
What's the point
Hey.
of going?
We'll get some of those in Vegas. I wish you two were going.
We'll face
all
it.
right, we are off the
face
rails already.
We
Let's
are.
get into the
We are.
slop.
We are.
There is some actual good juicy details that
Yes.
were dropped today.
Okay. First piece of slop, you guys got to rank it. Sloppy Joe, Waffle House, or Popeye's biscuit.
Okay.
Is that Charlotte is still considering taking Scoot over Brandon Miller.
I mean, to me, this is a Popeye's biscuit.
Agreed.
This is for Popeye's biscuits.
Yes.
This
In a
row?
Popeyes biscuit, no water.
I
Right.
mean, yeah, yeah. We're considering taking another real good player.
Yeah. We're considering
yeah,
at number
exactly.
2 taking the second best player in the draft.
All right.
Zero slop there. That's as
Might have
dry as a
been-
bone.
And you guys know how I feel about both Paulo and Chet. Hashtag Chet better, but in regards to Wembanyama. However, I think Scoot would have been number 1 last year. And so I don't know. I don't get the whole Brandon Miller situation.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's fair. All right, second piece of slop. This first sloppy section is all draft slop. We'll get to NBA wide slop later on. Second one, Jonathan Gavoni floats the name Brandon Ingram if New Orleans were to pursue the second overall pick, saying that they would trade BI to get Scoot at number 2.
Hey, I say that's Waffle House. That's Waffle House.
That's what
slop.
I was thinking too. We're in
That-
agreement again.
To me, if that's the case, if that's legitimately the case, of course, everything's rumors, everything's hearsay. If you hear the Johnny Depp Amber Heard, nobody's pooping on the bed this time. It signals maybe what's up with Zion as well. in relation to that and what they need to do with their franchise. If they're really willing to cash in Brandon Ingram for that second pick, because I like Brandon Ingram a lot. I like him a lot, and on the right team in the right role.
I feel like trading BI for Scoot is like taking a step back to hopefully take like 2 or 3 steps forward later on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I just don't know if I'm moving BI for pick number 2.
I'd be more inclined to move Zion, which was
That's kind of the direction I'm leading. Now, if I'm Charlotte, are you willing to take the risk?
That's the thing. That's why
You could bring in Scoot and be really good. I mean, a Zion trade is such a high ceiling, low floor trade.
Right.
There's a chance he comes in and plays 30 games a year like he's done his entire NBA career.
Yeah.
There's a chance he finally gets right, and he and LaMelo Ball create a hell of a 2-man tandem in that offense and become a really, really good team.
Yeah, Mark
I don't know.
There.
I'm generally risk adverse, so I don't think I would do it. I think I would just make pick number 2.
It's also a chance new ownership comes in and wants to make a splash, and that could be
True.
the
Yeah, but
splash.
I don't think the new ownership will be in place before the draft.
Whatever it
Probably
is,
right.
they already know what they're doing.
Scoot is such an MJ player too. Like I see that more than I do Brandon Miller.
Like whatever it is, they already know what they're doing.
Our friends, the Orlando Magic, the 6-Man Show podcast, getting in here trying to figure out also who is the culprit behind
they
the
missed
tweets.
they missed us going through this earlier, but the consensus to our friends over at the 6-Man Show is that's Nick, and Nick's now watching as well. So it's
So go tweet at Nick.
yeah.
So we are all going Waffle House on the BI trade
I
slot.
think it's fair.
No, that's a lot of slop.
Oh my god! When did you add that?
Earlier
For those listening to the podcast, Silva
That's
didn't say that
incredible.
live. He made that a drop.
That is incredible. He's building on this. Sound.
Incredible.
Oh my gosh.
Next piece of slop. Portland would be pleased to select Miller or Scoot Henderson.
This is. I actually don't know. I don't know what this is for me because this could be a new thing. Like, oh, maybe does this point to them being more inclined to trade Dame and start over, and therefore they would like
If
whoever's
that
there?
was the report, this is Sloppy Joe.
Right.
But it's not. So this one's Popeye's biscuit to me. We're content taking the 3rd best prospect with pick number 3.
It's another
Are we ranking this like as far as the actual headline?
Yeah, the quality of like how juicy the rumor is.
Oh yeah, that's Popeye's biscuit then.
I agree.
That's not
not
like,
much to take from that.
That's not. I'm not gonna that's an update on your phone. You're like, yeah, I knew that, and you kind of swipe right immediately, and then you just keep on doing what you're doing.
Yeah, it's a boring one. All right, next one. Amen Thompson and Cam Whitmore. I almost got the names mixed up. Amen Thompson and Cam Whitmore are the 2 names tied most to the Houston Rockets.
That's kind of Popeye's biscuit for me, just because of the way it's worded. Like if it were worded differently to where, this is apparently the case based off what I've read and heard on podcast, that the Rockets are considering Cam Whitmore over Amen Thompson. I think that would be a little more Waffle House. However, the way this is worded, they're considering both of those players at 4. Yeah, they should be considering both those players at 4.
I'm considering if I should be drinking my water or my pineapple coconut flavored body armor drink right now. They are both my options that are mostly available to me. So that's what I'm thinking about. So I would say that is a bad slop. It's not. It's bad slop, man.
Slop's running dry.
Next one. Gavoni says Orlando does not have a perfect fit at 6. By the time they get to 6 on the draft board, there is not a great fit for Orlando.
I don't know. Sorry, go ahead, Scylla.
Yeah, I don't know if is the purpose of reporting this kind of indicating that they are more willing to move back if they don't have their
That
options
would be
there.
fascinating.
But the headline
now-
alone,
Yeah, that's not the slop though. The slop is
Right.
just there's not a perfect fit. If it was there's not a perfect fit, and so they're interested in collecting assets and moving back.
mhm.
That is some pretty juicy slop. That's the cafeteria sloppy Joe.
But
Untoasted bun.
if it's the premise that it's Gavoni just saying Orlando doesn't have a perfect fit at 6, and in his opinion,
Right.
I would say, well, that's not entirely great slop, because let's be honest here. I'm sure that Orlando front office is enamored by several of these players.
Exactly.
By exactly what their scouts are saying. So that's why I say, hey, this is bad slop.
There's
I
a
agree
chance
with
Cam
Kamiar.
Whitmore's on the board there. They could take Anthony Black. They could go with Sar Thompson.
Jarrett Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jarrett. Now I don't think Jarrett is a good fit in Orlando when you already have Franz Wagner and Paulo Banchero and Wendell Carter Jr. So I'm going bad slop. I'm going
Bad
Popeye's
slop.
biscuit on this one. Gavoni says Jarris has a very narrow draft range, being a candidate at 5 or 7 and not sliding past 9 with Utah. Utah is very enamored with him at 9. This is important slop to me, so I'm going Waffle House because Jarris is my guy, and Gavoni is telling me where we need to trade to get Jarris. So I'm
Fair.
going Waffle House slop on this one.
You know what? That's exactly what I think this I guess it is reporting.
It's like half
Seems to
reporting it.
indicate. It's almost like maybe these teams are trying to get some fillers out there. I think it's a little dry for me because of, to your point, Jacob, how high I am on Walker. Like, why wouldn't he go in that range? I don't know.
Listen, this might be sloppy Joe. This is why I say it might be sloppy Joe. This is an indication that, and Jonathan Givony, very plugged in, especially with the draft. Of course, he's not Woj or Shams. It's an indication that suggests, of course, if he does not go higher for whatever reason, if somebody doesn't love him the last days or leading right next up to the draft, as we've seen in the years past, that hey, if you want this guy, these are the main spots. You basically need to be at 5, 7, or maybe possibly 9, but 5 by the earliest, to suggest that, I would say that's actually a pretty. I mean, that's a pretty specifically worded stance on, hey, if you want this candidate right here, these are what the other teams are doing. You would need to do this. And so it signals, hey, like you mentioned, other teams floating out. We're kind of interested in hearing offers on the table. And any team that wants a Jarris Walker like Jacob Niffen, then yeah, you're interested. And so I know there's a lot of people on this podcast that like Jarris Walker.
That's a good point. Especially the way he used the word narrow specifically, kind of painting a little bit of urgency there almost to teams outside of that range. I feel like that kind of was the purpose of this. So I think I'm going Waffle House here. I'm folding up the Waffle House waffle with my eggs and my sausage inside of the waffle, and I'm pouring syrup all over it.
It's good stuff. Get the Grand Slam.
Let's go flip side of Jarris. Report that Grady Dick's draft range appears to be wider than anticipated. He could fall all the way down to 13, but they don't anticipate him getting farther than the Toronto Raptors.
That is pretty interesting to me because he originally it's top 10 for
I'd
sure.
say
top 10.
Early on, he was top 7.
That's what it felt like. 8 was the floor, and now all the way out to 13. I know I believe it was maybe last Wednesday, me, you, and I think maybe Nick were talking about how, why would Grady come work out with a team like Oklahoma City if he thinks he's going to go further ahead of them? Maybe this is kind of a part of that. He's realizing, or his agent is realizing, that this is more in his draft range.
This is bad slop. This is bad slop, y'all.
Grady slop.
We see this every year. Players, Scotty Barnes. We saw Scotty Barnes. We were upset that Oklahoma City did not get Scotty Barnes, and look what you got. But anyways, like kept on rising, and he said that Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker, all these dudes kept on rising, and or dudes like falling, like Perry Jones. And these things are normal. So to say, oh, Grady Dick, after several other evaluations with team workouts and other NBA teams and scouts, he's tending to slide down draft boards. That's not good slop. That's regular NBA talk.
Also, when they say guys like Derek Lively or Bilal Coulibaly are rising up and getting consideration in the lottery, well, if somebody moves into the lottery, that means somebody else has to move out.
Right. And I also think too, I mean, if you're a good agent, there's a lot of, again, I mean, in our Slack, we talked about some specific players and agents that maybe weren't a great fit, players who are young, immature, and not getting great advice from their agents, maybe even trying to take advantage of those players. I think this is a great move by Grady's agency, and I can't remember. I want to say maybe it's Bill Duffy, which would make a lot of sense. That's just off the top of my head. Which obviously the OKC connection, but that's it right there, right, as well. Like, okay, maybe you think his range is only 6 through 9, but you're going to go ahead and give OKC that visit for a multitude of reasons. A, if he does fall that low, you'd love for him to go to OKC. It'd be a great opportunity for him. You have a great connection there with the franchise or with the front office. Also, there's opportunity for them to be able to trade up and get him. So a lot of different things in motion here. I think it's just a great move by Dick and his camp, and I'm kind of with Kamiar in the sense that, like, I don't know if this is super juicy necessarily. And if you were working out with like the Atlanta Hawks at 15, then and as well as the OKC Thunder, it's like, okay, we think his stock is dropping, and we're working out with 12 through 15, 16 in the draft.
All right, next piece of slop. Many around the league are curious if the Raptors are going to attempt to move up by trading Pascal Siakam.
Now, this is juicy.
We're kind of getting into
Juicy
it, and
slop.
I might have to bring out the third sounder. You might say it's a little sloppy.
Jeez.
Love it.
It's amazing.
This one is talks from back at the trade deadline now coming back up. That's what this is to me.
Yeah.
Toronto didn't want to trade the guys at the trade deadline, but now Fred VanVleet has opted out. Nick Nurse is gone. They've brought in a first-time head coach who's more of a player development guy. Signs in Toronto are pointing towards a rebuild. So moving off of your veteran to get a better pick in this draft just makes sense.
At least I got Drake, man.
Six God.
If you were Portland, would you do Siakam in 13 for 3?
So that,
Yes.
I was about to say,
Everything's
I
falling
don't
apart.
mean to-
Yes.
Yeah. I don't mean to hint at our segment that we'll probably do on Sunday unless all hell breaks loose in the NBA. But yeah.
How old is Siakam?
He's like 30.
Oh, yes,
older.
do
Is
it.
he
Get
really
done.
30?
Get it. Get
that is the
get,
trade.
Get.
And could
Make
you
it.
do like 3 in Simons and maybe some?
Are you saying do it
additional
from the
assets?
Toronto side or do it from the Portland side?
Portland side.
Oh, you do
And
it
could
from
you-
the Toronto side anytime. Portland side's gonna be like, I don't know about that.
If I'm
really?
Portland,
Well,
I'm
actually, I don't know. Well,
Yeah.
if
What
I'm
if you could
Portland,
throw
I'm
in-
trading Dame
Yeah,
before I trade pick
yeah.
3.
That's what they
ugh.
should do. But I mean, they're very adamant about this. So
They trade they trade 3 for Siakam.
That
What
contract.
what seed are they going into the playoffs next year?
like 6th
Are
or
they-
7th. It's gross.
are
but
they-
that's what they're
are they
going to
just
They're
do.
a playing team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they then let Jeremy
They're
Grant
lower
walk?
than a playing team.
That's what I'm
Who
saying.
are they playing
like,
at center? You going to run Nurk at center some more?
Trade
Go
Nurk.
ahead.
Trade
Get
him.
cooked in the pick and
Trade
roll
Nurk.
every possession.
You trade Nurk, you start Jeremy Grant at center, you run Siakam at the 4, and you figured the rest out, dude.
It's a weird.
Now
it's a weird
back to
path.
the
I think that
one of
team's
the
out in the
original
first round.
Slops. Yeah. No,
And
one of
that
the
team is
original
out. That
slops.
team is out in the first round. Portland has needed to blow that crap up for the longest time, and
Just
they
like the
refuse to do
Wizards.
it. But at least
Yeah.
the Wizards are doing it right now, like you just mentioned.
Which
Taylor.
we'll get into. Yeah, no,
Yep.
no, I would, to everyone's point, I would much rather have Brandon Ingram for 3 and
Yeah.
Simons or whatever. Shoot, even Zion. I'd be
So
willing to take that.
is this our
gamble.
first like true sloppy Joe?
Oh yeah, this is a
It's
sloppy Joe.
interesting.
I think this could be a sloppy Joe. If it's not 3 to Portland, I wonder if it could be 4 to Houston.
That's interesting.
Houston's a team that is very clearly under
my
ownership
gosh.
mandate to be better.
Amin and Shaden Sharp together in the backcourt. Oh, that's so fun.
Or if you do the trade with the Rockets at 4, you have Scotty Barnes and Amen Thompson. Like,
Yeah.
and Amen kind of fits
Good point.
what Toronto's always done. Like, that's
Yeah.
really fun.
I'm still thinking of 3. Yes, good point.
Rockets are trash, so it doesn't matter.
These are facts.
But yeah,
all right.
Siakam blowed out there for one of those top picks.
So we're going sloppy Joe
Yes,
for this one. Yes,
it's a good one. It's a good one.
let's get a couple more, and one that's not on the list, but I'm bringing it up anyways. Report out there that there has been a draft prospect who recently had a first-round grade that has had very poor workouts. People are questioning his character, and reportedly at one workout with the team, walked off the court because he was winded and then was taking hits off the vape pen in front of either a general manager or a scout. It is widely believed that that draft prospect would be one Gigi Jackson, who is now getting like graded in the low 30s.
Yeah, it's all adding up. And the track record prior to these details coming out adds up as well. I'm kind of like in between. I'm not quite to a Waffle House yet, but I'm a little more than a dry Popeyes biscuit. I'm not sure what that would be.
I don't like the way we're describing this right now. But it's interesting, right? How that happens, how that works out. I mean, CP3 vouched for Gigi someone.
He did, but now again, this is also off the top of my head, and I probably should have this pulled up. Pretty sure Gigi played for CP3's AAU team, which again, like that's. Okay.
I don't think CP3 really knows who Gigi is.
Right. It's almost like, yeah, that's right.
Speaking of CP3, did y'all talk about how he said OKC felt like he revived his NBA career?
No, but that's awesome.
It is
pretty
cool. I think that came out after we potted on Sunday.
It did. I think it did. I wasn't sure, but yeah, like I thought it was pretty cool to see him say that. He felt like that the Oklahoma City Thunder, with Sam Presti, of course, is very complimentary. Every time that anybody speaks of Oklahoma City, they're very complimentary of Sam Presti, an organization. But saying
it's pretty cool
he revived his career,
yeah,
and to the point where the Suns felt like they could win something with him. So that's pretty good. Good stuff.
Very cool.
I have a couple more pieces of draft slop before we move on to NBA wide and get out of here.
About GG.
I love it. Couple more here. Let's do 2.
Okay.
No, we'll do 3 because I want to get a Thunder specific one. First one. Hawks have had a tough time getting prospects in for workouts. Guys all see themselves as higher picks, and Atlanta has too many guys fighting for minutes. And they don't want to go work out in Atlanta.
So in the spirit of Atlanta, I'm going to go ahead and say not a Popeyes dry biscuit, but a Chick-fil-A dry biscuit.
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, it's super dry, super dry. It's like, wow, I am so shocked by this news, guys.
Whoever did this.
I wonder if part of this is like cultural stuff in Atlanta as well.
Because that's how I took it.
Yeah, on that exact note, Jacob,
vibes aren't very great there.
On that exact note, Jacob, and obviously Atlanta's further along in their process right now, but isn't OKC in a somewhat similar spot? A ton of dudes always competing for minutes.
Lots of guys want to come to OKC who are young.
Right.
But the culture in the culture is different, like we're talking about. And like even when the Hawks were good, like when Trey they go to the playoffs, Trey sends the Knicks home, does the whole shimmy, whatever, and then the next year they kind of like they fall off a little. They fall off. Even when they were good, I didn't feel like their team had a great culture. I didn't feel like they were a very good team. You can have a good basketball squad, but you don't have to have the best team. I mean, like you have to have really good other moving parts and good chemistry. Like understanding that, yeah, I'm competing against you every single day for playing time, especially as young guys. Oklahoma City filled with young guys, the youngest team in the league. Everybody is competing for spots. Usman, Poku, Jalen Williams, not so much anymore. Trey Mann is competing for spots to the point where he's in the media saying like it's not all what it looks like because he drops a triple-double in the middle of a game. And so it's pretty wild just to see all of that just like going on.
Yeah. And the thing is, the Hawks don't have a lot of young guys.
They don't.
When you look at their roster, here you go. Trey Young, not a young guy on a second contract, right? An established guy. DeJounte Murray, John Collins, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Clint Capella. I guess you can consider Sadiq Bey young. Jalen Johnson is young. DeAndre Hunter is in his second contract, or about to be in his second contract.
Yeah.
Onyeka Okongwu, that was the Poku draft, so he's going into year 4. AJ Griffin. Then you got guys like Aaron Holiday and Bruno Fernando and Garrison Matthews. Like they are not a super young team.
Now, and just using this prospect, because I think he is a prospect who would fit very well on both teams. And we just talked about him. And not because of his funny last name, but in all being genuine here, Grady Dick, I think he fits very well with both the Atlanta roster, being kind of playing the Kevin Herter role, who I've compared him to.
Didn't Atlanta
not because
just
of
have
the obvious reason, okay.
Grady Dick?
But exactly.
And trade him away?
Exactly.
For pennies on the dollar?
So he would fit well there, right? For that very reason. I agree, Jacob. Also would fit great with OKC because, more of a fit thing in terms of having another shooter who can also, he's more than just a shooter. If you're Grady Dick and his agent, who would you rather play for or play with, I should say? Play for the Thunder, play for the Atlanta Hawks, like we mentioned, but also play with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Josh Giddey, Jalen Williams, or DeJounte Murray, Trey Young, Onyeka Okongwu,
John Collins, who's been shot for forever.
AJ Griffin,
There's just a lot of unrest there. Like Cam Reddish asked out. John Collins has been rumored to be traded for years. Trey Young has a issue with his coach, like almost every year. It's weird. It's weird, and I get it.
What's the level of, say, Popeye's biscuit, or Atlanta chicken establishment biscuit in Taylor's perspective?
Yeah.
All right, let's get through these last two ones pretty quick so we can move on to our second round of slop. The Golden State Warriors are considering moving a young guy like Jonathan Kuminga to get a high pick.
I don't know,
This is borderline sloppy Joe for me because they didn't specifically said Jonathan Kuminga, but they said a young guy like Jonathan Kuminga.
Yes. Yep. That's exactly where I'm at, Jacob.
They have pick 19. I don't know, high draft pick. What is their perspective of high? Is that top 8? Is that, if OKC could trade back 5 spots to 19 and pick up Moses Moody, I think I'm doing it.
Moody's probably the one young guy they love though,
Yeah. They loved Jordan Poole for a minute, and then they paid him.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know what high draft pick means in this context either. Because if it's me, I'm not wanting to trade a top 10 pick for Kuminga. I'm not.
Neither am I.
Even OKC
Agreed.
at 12, I wouldn't do it. I don't know. I don't know how far back I'd have to go to want to trade for Kuminga at this point.
That's a good point.
Kuminga just doesn't fit OKC at all, though.
Right. Which is why they passed on him, and I think they will continue to. And so you bring up a good point. It's almost like Golden State's floating that out there, like we want a high draft pick, but nobody
to see who will bite.
Right, and nobody should or will.
Would the Mavs bite?
That's my thought.
Is that a high?
I think 10's pretty good.
What kind of team fits Jonathan Kuminga right now?
I think the Mavs are a good one, actually.
Why? Why? What?
They
You
traded
don't
away
ever.
their.
He's strictly a play finisher and a defensive wing player. You don't have to worry about like his deficiency is decision making with the ball. You don't
It's
have
your
to worry about that on a team that's got Luka and Kyrie.
it's your Dorian Finney-Smith replacement.
This won't happen because they already made a trade for Wiseman, but gosh, that's a Troy Weaver player to a T.
He's also super athletic. I like Jonathan Kuminga. I wouldn't trade 12 for him or whatever,
Yep.
but man, Oklahoma City could definitely use some diversity as far as their big men go. They like their big men are
He's a different level of athlete.
he's a
than-
different level
right.
big man. Like they've got two legitimate.
This is why Jacob loves Jarris Walker, and I am backing him on this.
There's like you got two
I'm with you.
legitimate bigs, kinda right. You've got JRE, and you've got
Jay Will.
Jalen Will, J Will. Poku's kind of like a big, I suppose, but just because he's tall. Same thing with Chet. I mean, but he's like an actual like kind of, at least a power forward, just because of like what he's gonna do. But you don't have that kind of thick-bodied, muscular, aggressive rim runner guy that you'll oop it to. Of course, you'll oop it to Chet once he gets involved in the game. But you don't have anybody else like that.
There's a difference between the strength, and that's why I'm getting more and more sold on Derek Lively.
Sure.
There's a part of me that's getting excited about that. To your point, Kamiar.
That'd be
I'm not
crazy
saying
rim
I'm
protection.
not saying I'd trade 12. I'm just saying I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by Jonathan Kuminga. He's still
fair.
in that age range, and I
Yeah.
know Nick
Definitely in
likes
age
Jonathan
range.
Kuminga, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think he does. Yeah.
Last piece of draft slop. We got a lot. This last one I want to cover though. Both Utah and Oklahoma City sent quote unquote front office officials to France to watch Bilal Coulibaly and Mets 92. It is widely believed that the Thunder front office person who went over there was in fact Sam Presti. Anything to read into that there? First, like, what's the level of slop there? And is there anything to read into it?
To me, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like Presti just does this quite a bit. Like loves to travel and see these guys.
I feel like
himself.
Presti is one of the more active GMs and actually going out and watching prospects
Right.
in
He's-
the wild.
That's the Spurs video coordinator in him, and he's maintained that, which makes him so good at what he does. He's a GM, but he's also a scout at heart.
I don't think it alludes to the Thunder like leaning towards taking Coulibaly. I think Coulibaly is the last non-number one overall pick that is still actively playing basketball right now, and you can't bring him over for a workout because he's playing in the finals. So you have to go there to see him.
And also playing against some of the most elite competition he's seen all season.
And it's a
I
free
agree.
trip to France.
What?
That-
yeah,
that
sure.
too.
Wee.
Sure. Well, I mean, like what it makes what I think of it all is what Presti specifically probably does. I mean, yeah, sure, you're gonna look at the performance. Of course, you're the GM of a team that's thinking about drafting this guy. Possibly, maybe he might not even be on the drop board right now. We're talking about him right now, but he goes there. Sure, they're interested a little bit. Yeah, he knows what he's getting. They've scouted the crap out of him so much already. He is going to assess his body language, see how he takes the
Talk to
coaching.
him.
Talk to him. See,
I
if
mean,
he's
Kamiar and
a
I-
person.
Kamiar and I taught through a pandemic. There's a difference between interviewing and communicating with someone via Zoom and going and sitting down and having an in-person conversation with
Yeah.
somebody.
And that's a great point.
Bilal's
as well.
not coming over here for interviews. He's currently playing basketball.
Great point.
Yeah, he's gonna go ask how talk to the coaches in person. Like, how does he do this? How does he take yada? He's gonna actually talk to the person himself. He's gonna look at his mannerisms, even on the bench, how he is with his teammates. He's gonna look how he is on the court in between timeouts, etc. Those are the small things. And like, if anybody has said anything about the Oklahoma City organization, they've always mentioned how great of an organization it is, sure, but they also mentioned how Oklahoma City is really, really, really great at the tiny details, and that's
Mhm.
Sam Presti.
Probably talking to Bilal's 5th grade teacher right now.
Probably.
That's not sarcasm either.
Did he
Like
color
Preston
it?
does that
Probably
type of
was.
stuff.
Yeah.
So is this a biscuit? Is this a Waffle House?
I think it's probably like it's a biscuit with honey on it.
Yeah, that's a good in
Okay.
between.
Yeah,
I
that's
like
pretty
that.
that. It's
I
a good
like
one.
No napkin.
No napkin.
that.
Let's
No, no.
let's take a quick break on the other side. We're gonna hit the sloppy slop. All right. We are back. It is time for the real slop now, Silva.
You might say it's a little sloppy.
First one, and very interesting note today. Rival executives say Harden to Houston situation is becoming, quote, increasingly uncertain.
Houston, there's a problem.
We've gone from it being nearly a foregone conclusion that Harden was going back to Houston, that it is now highly uncertain. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but in like the last 5 days to a week, there's been a lot of reporting about other types of players and names that Houston would go after if they do not get James Harden. Fred VanVleet, Kyrie Irving,
Please, Lord, if
Austin
you're listening.
Reeves, like all these different names. All this leaking is coming from Houston. 100% is
God,
coming
I
from
hate
Houston.
Houston so much. They're such garbage. They are in jorts and a wife beater, wearing a chain wallet right now, walking down. Oh my gosh! Like, what is this organization doing? I feel like poverty franchise, man.
Dude, Harden's
Poverty.
in a weird spot. Windhorse, this is some additionals, bonus slop. Windhorse also reported today that the Sixers are not desperate for James Harden.
Wow.
Nor
So-
should they be.
Nor should they be, right?
You mean the
Like,
guy
I'm
that
paying
flew out
James
to
Harden
Las
that.
Vegas a day before game 1 to party
Yeah. So it's
when
like
game 1 was
like
in Philadelphia?
Harden
The
is trying to
guy
start a
who
bidding
was
war
out
and no one's
partying in
biting.
Miami during the NBA Finals when he was a member of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yep.
It's been a
Might not be
been
a
a
bidding war
pattern.
for old James.
So what happens when you're not addicted to the game? You
I
just
think
do that.
Philly, if he doesn't leave for Houston, I think he's back in Philly. I don't think there's like a third consideration out there. But yeah, Houston basically leaking intentionally all these players that they're going to make a run at
They'd be interested in Zion Williamson. Like,
just tells me that
Yeah.
they are directionless.
yes.
They're going to piece together some garbage and be like a 7 or an 8 or a 9 seed next year.
Everybody knew that James Harden was not going to Houston. Everybody knew that. James Harden was not going to Houston.
Maybe. I feel like the Rockets are crazy enough to do it is the thing. That's the only reason why I
Well,
believe
and the thing
that.
was, a report came out that said the Rockets aren't going to max him.
Well, that
So
Yeah,
why
so
is
they
he
can get
coming back
additional-
home if you're not giving him all the money when you've got like 60 mil in cap space?
Because he likes being paid money to have freedom to actually pursue his interests, which do not include basketball.
I'm
It's
actually
true.
pro Harden
You're
to
right.
Houston because that I think makes the pick that they owe OKC next year. Like, I would be fine if Houston was the worst team in the league next year because it's a 50-50 shot at pick number 5. But I mean, I'm okay if Houston goes back because you're probably getting picked 10 or 12.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a great point.
I'm rooting for chaos, and I think we're headed toward chaos in this situation.
I don't want to talk about Houston or Harden anymore. What level of slop is this?
It's fairly sloppy. It's not.
I mean, anything with James Harden is sloppy. Let's be honest. It's
I was
not
about
even
to say
sloppy.
that. Dang it.
It's sloppy, but with the CH. It's sloppy. It's gross.
I think
Get
that's
that beard
fair.
away from me.
No, that's a lot of slop.
Next one. There's 2 more. I'm going to lump them into one. Gavoni indicated in his mock draft that Washington could go under a full rebuild under Winger and Will Dawkins. And then both Shams and Woj reporting today that Washington, in quote, weighing their rebuild, has been in communication with Bradley Beal's agent, because Bradley Beal has a no trade clause, and working with them as offers come in to figure out what is best for Bradley Beal. My analysis on that, on that Woj and Shams report, Washington is trying to keep the allure of mystery. Oh, we might not go full rebuild, so you got to blow us away with an offer for Beal before we'll actually trade him. Washington's doing a rebuild. 100%. Like, this reporting confirms it to me. Kyle Kuzma's going to opt out. They're going to let him go. They're going to find a trade partner for Beal. They're going to let Kristaps walk, or if Kristaps opts into that final year, they're going to trade him.
Yep.
And they are going full on rebuild.
As they should.
For the first time in my life.
Yeah, you hired Will Dawkins and Michael Winger, two Presti proteges who have it imprinted in their DNA on how to rebuild a team. And your owner gave you the green light to do a rebuild. Yep. And now you're floating out stuff about Bradley Beal. You're going on a rebuild.
Yeah, I put this as, like you mentioned, Popeye's biscuit with honey on it. This is not, it's not bad slop, because it's needed to it's been needed to happen for a very, very long time. But it's not Waffle House. It's not like mid slop, just because like you kind of expected this at one point or another, at least. I mean, Bradley Beal could always be Damian Lillard up in Portland, but I never got that vibe from Brad Beal, that Dame Lillard's willing to put in those cash and all his chips in Portland. I mean, kudos to him, I guess. But I think it's just a step above being dry. Just simply because Washington, like you mentioned, they got the Presti proteges in there. Brad Beal, how old is he?
30, 31?
30,
Yeah.
31? Really?
Yeah. With arguably the worst contract in the league.
Gosh.
It is a very large contract. It's got a no trade clause. It's got a 15% trade kicker.
It's tough, but it's interesting because, like, Washington they needed to do a rebuild. Like, once you got that notification on your phone, did you like think to yourself, yeah, that makes sense? Was that your reaction? Were any of you surprised, or was it like, that needed to happen a while ago? Was anybody surprised by the notification?
I'll tell you, I'm more surprised that the reporting came out than just the Wizards have traded Bradley Beal.
Straight up.
Like, I almost think just getting a report that they traded Beal would be less surprising than this reporting coming out. This reporting is straight up playing the PR game.
Do you guys want to know how much Brad Beal is owed over the next 4 years?
Isn't it something like $200 million?
Yes, it's $46 million next year, 50, 53, $57 million per year.
Year 4 is going to be his 34-year-old season.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And you're going to owe him what, $57 million?
57. Yeah, he'll be 33, I guess. And
nothing
he has a
serious.
player option for $57 million.
Nothing serious, but he's battled some injuries.
He has.
So, yeah, that's
a big reason why.
Yeah, it's not great.
Not great.
I went on a rant Sunday about how I thought pick 8 in Washington was a prime candidate for the Thunder to trade for, and I kind of laid out my reasoning for that. If they move Beal, one of my prime reasons was they are limited on draft assets. They owe a protected pick out. If you trade Beal, I don't think you're getting a huge haul for him because of that contract, but you're getting picks. Like, a lot of people have floated the Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, and like 3 firsts, which that's Washington refilling the coffers with draft picks. You could then turn around and trade a guy like Denny Avdia. You could maybe recoup a pick there. They could restock, and if they go in a rebuild, I don't think they are moving pick 8. I think if they do, they're trying to move up the board, not down with the Thunder. you could still try to blow them away with just a quantity of draft picks. But I'm also kind of okay if the Heat are the trade partner, because in order for the Heat to trade future first, they have to unprotect a pick they owe to OKC.
Sure.
So
It's insane he has a no trade clause.
the only player in the league. He's the last no trade clause in the NBA.
Crazy.
They used to be really common too.
Yeah.
Like in many sports, and not many sports actually do them anymore because I mean, like
It's
makes
it's almost like GMs learn their lesson.
makes everything worse. Yeah.
Now, if you are a team like the Wizards, though, like if you do trade Beal, you get additional draft assets. I don't know. I can see the Thunder still being able to offer them future draft capital. Like I think
12
that's
and 3 firsts to get up
Yeah.
to 8.
I think that's smart if you're rebuilding. And then who cares if you don't have like a top tier player this draft if you're Washington, because
You're trying to
bottom
suck.
out.
Yeah,
And
and
then-
your own picks are going to end up being pretty good after you blow it up.
Right. Now, again, I don't know. I'm assuming that Washington has their first pick in 2024. But anyways, I think it's still a possibility.
Another thing is, I think it's going to be mildly hard to trade Beal because of the new CBA rules and how punitive it is if you are way over the cap, and having $57 million wrapped up in a 33-year-old bill.
Yeah.
That it's going to be, I mean, I know the cap is going to go up,
It'll
Right.
look better, but still.
but that's still a huge amount for that guy who, I mean, has Bradley, I'll have to look it up. Has Bradley Beal been an all NBA guy?
Oh, it's a good
I think
question.
Lot of money. Lot
He's
of
been on
money.
NBA, but I'm not sure.
3-time All-Star. He was a 2020, 2021 All NBA player.
What team was it? Does it say?
No, it just says All NBA.
Okay.
And that's the thing, is like paying $57 million for somebody, like, doesn't have to be a death nail in this new CBA, but paying $57 million for a guy that's only a 3-time All-Star, that's tough.
Yeah.
Like, you have to really prioritize where all of your money is going.
Well, and especially when you're looking at some of the teams that will be contending in the near-term future and the long-term future, right? Like, if Bradley Beal is your second best player, are you winning a championship? The answer is probably no. Your third best player, then yes, you're absolutely in contention. But then we get into the whole CBA situation and contracts and salary cap, the new salary cap coming up. Like, can you afford it and still build a team around, those 3 players if Bill is your third option? It's interesting.
That
for sure.
contract is certainly an albatross, and it's also kind of weird seeing this last generation of like this new generation of NBA players rise up, and this last generation of NBA players still have these albatross massive contracts still on the books. Like, we're talking about Beal, we're talking about Harden, we're talking about guys that are toward the very end of their career, that their contracts and where they're going to chase rings now. It's interesting to think about that.
Would you do pull Kuminga and some firsts for Beal? If you're Golden State, you're already in tax hell.
Right. It feels
And
like
when the new
Golden State-
CBA hits, you can't make that trade because you're limited on how you can trade.
If you're Golden State, you trade some first and Kuminga for Beal.
First, Kuminga and Poole to match the salaries. You bring in Beal.
Well, what would be the reasoning?
you go all out.
You
with,
just go all in for these next
one
3 years,
more years.
Oh,
yeah.
and then you let everyone retire and move on.
Golden State.
Feels like
Golden
Golden
State.
State
They,
move.
they know they're done. Golden State knows they're done.
I actually really
There's
like
a
the
good-
Miami fit.
Yeah,
It
I
makes
like Miami
sense.
fit too. Golden State knows they're done. Beal will fit really well in a system that actually Miami is like an actual system. And with Spoelstra too, he keeps those guys going healthy. It's not like he's running them into the ground like what's his face over in New York. I think that would be a good fit for him, especially Jimmy Butler. He would.
He and Jimmy together would be fun.
It would be fun, and it would nice to have Jimmy to have a running mate every year
Yep, and
besides
Bam,
Bam.
yeah. It's really good. If Memphis wasn't in turmoil, I would say they'd be a good landing spot for him.
Don't you have young Bradley Beal and Desmond Bain?
You're right.
Yeah, you already got shooters on the team, anyways.
In more ways than one.
No, hey, no.
That news
When
drop's
is
gonna
the
come
jaw
out.
suspension going to drop?
Well, now Adam, he doesn't want to disrupt the slop. It's the
But
bad.
if the
Th-
finals
that's
are
that's the
over-
ultimate slop.
I don't know.
Okay, let's talk about it. And Taylor's gone, so this is good. I'm just kidding. So I'm sorry, Taylor. Is it 30, 50, or a full season?
I don't think it's full season. I've heard 50.
I've heard 30 and 50.
Let's split the difference and go
Would
40.
30 be enough for you? Like as far as like
I think 30 would be the biggest suspension since Gilbert Arenas.
30 is what I would personally want in that situation, but it's more important to me that he actually,
30 puts him like
correct.
past Christmas, I think.
yeah, like it's
Yeah.
more important to me that he actually addresses these personal issues he's having. and
no,
not,
yeah,
like,
sure.
Not
Don't
like
go to-
last time,
don't go
whenever
to
he went to
therapy for 2
counseling for 3 days.
Right.
No, I think that's key, right? Like you need to actually, and like I think Shannon Sharp was talking about. Everyone was talking about this the other day, but like actually addressing the behavior, and then
Right.
coming out a little bit later, talking about it being a toy and all that other garbage. Like you're
If
gonna
I
say
was his friend
you're-
that put him on Instagram Live with a gun, I'd also claim it was a toy.
You're gonna say that 5-6 weeks later. Like, what's going on? This is the second time. It's weird. It's
really
like
weird.
I've 30, 50, splitting the difference. Like, it sucks, man. Sucks.
Yeah.
I hate to see that. I
The
hate
top,
to see that.
the top of that draft is not doing well right now
That's
between him
correct.
and Zion.
Jeez.
Oh, Zion.
Some
That's the
poor
worst
dis-
kind of.
Zion is the sloppiest of the slop. You know what,
Zion.
Silva? Give us a drop for the Zion slop.
You might say it's a little sloppy.
Yeah.
He's
It's
swimming
been
in
very-
the slop right now.
He's lost in the slop.
Definition of slop top.
Yeah.
Little too much slop top.
I think
Sloppy
she's
toppy.
still tweeting too. It's
It
been
might
like a
be.
week, bro.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
I like
good.
Zion, but man, it sucks.
Poor decisions.
It's a tough decision. Tough.
And to bring
All
us
right, I
full
think it's time we get
circle,
outta here.
This is why you do not draft Gigi Jackson.
Thank you guys for listening to the Uncontested Slop Drop Pod. We hope you guys in the chat got to chill, my guys. The degenerates out in full force tonight. Hope you guys enjoy
You
the
might
Slop Pod.
say it's a little sloppy.
We will be back Sunday night. I'll just tell you what we're doing Sunday night. Sunday night's pod is the uncontested trading every single lottery pick in like realistic trades that could go down on draft night. So we're going to trade 13 picks. We're not going to trade one because that's not possible. But we're going to trade all the other picks. We're going to see what we can come up with as a realistic trade. Should be a fun show. And then the next Wednesday is draft predictions before we do the draft live show all night Thursday. Make your plans, sub to the YouTube channel. We appreciate you guys. We will chat soon. Enjoy all the slop and slop season. Hit us up on social media. Let us know which of these rumors you think is the sloppiest. Let us know what you think about Silva's slop drops. And we will talk soon. Until then, as always, thunder up.